Gleaming breastplates, furred helmets and banners snapping in the wind. The soldiers of the Vostroyan First Born are perhaps some of the best equipped, dressed and stylish soldiers of the Astra Militarum. An exceptionally proud people, their regiments take great pride in the preservation of unit history, ensuring each regiment can recall its founding for a living memory of generations of soldiers. So if you love a story of fine moustaches, shiny armour, alcohol-drinking guardsmen, then listen on. If new to my channel, I cover everything Astra Militarum, including hobby, tactics and law, so please subscribe for more. Vostroya is an industrial world with deep ties to the Adeptus Mechanicus. It is heavily populated and covered in manufactorums, with its primary purpose being the production of arms and ammunition for the wider Imperium. The term Firstborn ties back to the Horus heresy, with Vostroya opting to remain neutral during this time of great betrayal. So ashamed was Vostroya after that they pledged to remove this stain from their reputation by committing every one of their firstborn sons to the service of the Imperium. Hence the Vostroyan First Born. So a Vostroyan Firstborn begins their service at the age of 18. Completing their basic training, they then consume copious amounts of the native alcohol, Revoid, before unleashing carnage on the local townspeople in the hunt for a willing woman to bed with. Their success on such an endeavour could determine whether they'll ever experience homeworld romance, as they signed on for 10 years of service to the Astra Militarum. They are then bundled onto transports, where they are then sent off to reinforce deployed Vostroyan regiments. Now the nature of the deployment is unique in that every deployed Vostroyan regiment receives reinforcements opting to maintain regimental identities. This is different to what most other Astra Militarum armies will do, whereby they'll collapse in below-strength squads, platoons, companies or regiments, reorganising remaining troops into new fighting call signs. This more common method can see friction and tension developing between combined units, with a famous example being that of the 597 Valhallans, with Commissar Caphius Kane having to defuse an all-out riot in a mess hall between the 296 and the 301st. Caphius's luck and wit sees him defuse the situation and then work towards developing an effective fighting regiment. So such problems wouldn't occur for the Vostroyans given their regiments are kept at fighting strength, or at a level to at least warrant the keeping of a formation call sign. So here is a key tradition of the Vostroyans. This method means that every Vostroyan regiment can trace back its lineage based on the memories of those who've served before them. This method also means that the shinies, or new recruits, are amongst hardened Vostroyan veterans, as opposed to a brand new formation where nobody has seen combat before. So life for these new recruits will naturally not be easy. They have to firstly make it through the commonly high mortality rate for new guardsmen, but also deal with the barracks room bullying and banter of not yet having a moustache. A moustache is a sign of manhood and ties back to their warrior culture. I certainly remember at the age of 18 when I joined the army that my issue razor did little work during my 7 weeks of recruit training. So I certainly would have found it pretty tough as a new recruit in a Vostroyan regiment. So while these new recruits are suffering banter from the older, more experienced Vostroyan guardsmen, at least they're wearing fine uniforms and fielding high quality war gear. Their uniform is a maroon red, with their furry helmets similar to what is worn by the British Queen's Guard of today. Given their close ties to the Adeptus Mechanicus, they also have some of the best armour and weaponry. Their rifles are often fashioned with permanent ornate bayonets, or buttstocks with axe-shaped edges. Their armour is plasteel alloy carapace, and both armour and weaponry could be handed down generation to generation, further reinforcing the importance of regimental heritage and tradition. And also further driving regimental traditions is the fact that units are often manned by clusters of families or relations. It isn't uncommon for troops to serve alongside uncles or cousins, only reinforcing the expectation for each member to do their family proud on the distant battlefields of the 40th millennium. And the preferred battlefields of the Vostroyans are cold urban environments, given their training on Vostroya is conducted in derelict manufactorums, serving as an outstanding training environment presenting the natural complexities of urban warfare. With cold weather being their preference, they take a very strict approach to personal care and extreme temperatures. Given every trooper's body is a weapon of the Emperor, to suffer frostbite is to limit this weapon's effectiveness, and as such it is a capital offence with a punishment being flogging. Pretty rough to think that, having lost ears, nose, fingers or toes, one suffers further through corporal punishment. But on the flip side, given their ties to the Adeptus Mechanicus, any frostbitten faces can be saved by having a rebreather permanently screwed into jaw or cheekbones, forever ensuring the guardsman is breathing filtered air. Too bad they lose their moustache though. Well, pretty demoralising to think frostbite is rewarded with flogging and permanent augmentation. The Vostroyan culture does mean that troops can enjoy the warming fire of hard liquor. Their native Rozoid is similar to vodka of today, and they've got regional variations to this white spirit. Whilst intoxication on duty is strictly prohibited, troops can take swigs of it to help thaw out frozen bodies or simply warm their soul if morale is poor. During my service in the army, older soldiers would talk about bringing rum on exercise. Of the two canteens you'd carry on your belt equipment, one was full of water and the other of rum. The prospect of drinking rum on a hot Australian summer's day whilst laden with kit never appealed to me, but I guess the 80s and 90s were a pretty different era. Also in the bellies of the Vostroyans is a hot beverage ox. It's a powdered broth made of grox meat, stimulants and preservatives, probably giving troops the same buzz as having too much caffeine. Ox would be more prevalent in the rank and file, with officers sticking to their native hard liquor. The Vostroyan culture is heavily class-driven, with the minority ruling class governing over the working class working in the manufactorums. This is also prevalent in Vostroyan regiments, with officers coming from nobility and the soldiers from the lower working class families. This cultural approach remains within the regiments, with the officers taking instant dislike to any low-caste soldiers who've earned their way to commission. But the societal gap between troops and their commanding officers is bridged by not only their common duty to the Emperor, but also their faith in Saint Natalia the Grey Lady. Held with religious regard, terrified troops on the battlefield would mutter the blessing of the saint, reading as, "O Saint Natalia, the Grey Lady, of Throne of Earth, deliver our souls from peril this day, so we might yet become your shield again." While to believe in gods and spirits is a complex topic in the 40th millennium, this belief would certainly help petrified Vostroyans find their courage when facing the horrors of the grim dark future. And in happier times, Vostroyans also find common ground in song and dance, like that of the Kazakhs or historical Russians. Each platoon has a trooper who can play an ushek, which is like a 7-stringed violin, and play tunes like the Eyes of Katya. This sees troops linking arms, swaying and stamping their feet in time with the music. And this helps remind them of their kinship and their beloved homeworld. And those back on their homeworld are also doing their duty to the Emperor, working endless shifts in the smelter works and factories of the manufactorums. Vostroya has paid its tithe to the Imperium with not only 10,000 years of firstborn male conscription, but also some of the best weapons and ammunition available as mentioned before. So while those in the factories labour for the Emperor, the Vostroyans fight and die on distant battlefields, often in the company of male relatives. Their contracted service is 10 years, but most who survive that long opt to serve beyond the initial term. For life in a Vostroyan regiment is actually pretty simple. As per the wise words of a member of the 68th Vostroyan First Born, fighting both the Orcs and rebel troops on the Danak world, a Vostroyan troop needs to worry about only 3 things: their orders, their kit, and the Emperor's blessing. Focus on those and you'll be seen through that day, or at least enter the light and sit next to the Emperor on the golden throne. So there you have it, the law of the proud Vostroyan Firstborn. Moustache wearing, fine uniform and wargear, hard liquor drinking, religiously observant with a pinch of bravado, song and dance. Hopefully you enjoyed it, let me know in the comments. So yep, my channel covers everything Astra Militarum, including hobby, tactics and lore, and every like, comment and subscribe really helps as I build my channel. If you're feeling super generous, you can support me on Patreon, a link is below. Thanks for watching, see you next time.